chat actually comprised a list of attribute 4 decks that we think are some of the best decks that you could be using in the game. Now, these deck lists that I'm going to show you, they're going to be deck lists that were built with the mind of you can change whatever you want. They're not definitive, but I think that these are some of the most powerful decks. Let's go ahead and jump on in. And let me talk to you guys about the first deck, which is really, really good in Master Duel overall, and it's Solomon Great. I actually really like Solomon Great is because even when you're done with this particular deck, it's still good on the regular ladder. And another thing that I really like about this deck is that it with Mathmech is also really, really powerful. This is a strategy that we were using when we were climbing to Diamond and did us really, really well. The biggest thing that I like about this particular deck, there's also a couple of other cards I want to talk to you about it, is that Divine Kernet Kirakara and Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring are actually recurable through your Solomon Great Sunlight Wolf. Now, again, this isn't a definitive build. You can change the deck to however you want to, but 3 structure decks essentially get you almost everything you need for the Solomon Great deck. It's a very cheap deck and very powerful for the Attribute 4 tournament, that's going on right now. I think it's really, really good. Another strategy that I think is incredible. Oh, actually, let me finish telling you some things about Solomon Great other than the Ash Blossom recursion. Losing Access Code Talker isn't necessarily as huge as what people would like to think, because you can still make Transcode Talker with Update Jammer, and that's still enough damage to go for game. And then there's also the Solomon Great Pyro Phoenix, a card that not a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh players or Master Duel players use in total, but with Access Code Talker being banned, Solomon Great Pyro Phoenix is a double summon that destroys all of your opponent's cards on their field, which is really, really cool. This deck is really good at link climbing, can play slow with cards like Baguska and Abyss Dweller, and then can still OTK with your Transcode Talker and Update Jammer. So now we move on to another deck. This would probably be the best Earth deck. We did Earth, Wind, Fire, Water, and a elemental attribute, an avatar deck, if you will, to be able to show you guys all of the decks that you could play in different attributes. But I think Madolce may be the stronger of the Earth decks. Now, some of the players were saying Warrock. Yeah, we had some people who try to troll with Warrock. I know there's a guy that's actually doing really well with the particular strategy. And then there's another Earth deck that it escapes my mind right now that I think is pretty good in here. Chat will remind me as I'm going through this. But the Madolce deck is actually really good at being able to go second and OTK your opponent. And it does it in fairly short combos. Basically, if you open Madolce Angeli or Madolce Mageline or even your Madolce Petting Cesor, you can go full combo and OTK your opponent, making 2 copies of Madolce Princess Chocolate a la mode. And your third card is going to be your Madolce Fresh to start. And with all of them on the field alongside of a Chateau, that is exactly 8,000 damage. Other than that, pretty much what you do is that you use cards like Dino Wrestler Pankratops. We thought about running a Kaiju engine with Kaiju Interrupted Slumber, and then being able to give your opponent a Kaiju if you so happen to draw it. Any board breaker cards like Lightning Storm can definitely help. But this deck is really, really good at being able to kill your opponent's board, shuffle all their cards back into the deck, and then go for lethal here. And the new Vernal Sylph cards actually help you, because the Vernal Sylph cards allow you to be able to search your Vernal Sylph Ducky, and Ducky allows you to add any Earth Fairy, which just so happens to be Petting Cesor and Angeli, from your deck to your hand to keep playing. This is a really, really strong Yu-Gi-Oh deck. If I had to pick another deck that was also really good here, we're going to go ahead and say Marincess. Now, ironically, Marincess got hit by the Master Duel event ban list and lost Marincess Blue Tang to 1. Now, normally when that happens, you should already be on game right there. If that ever happens in a particular event, you should literally be looking at this particular strategy with extra eyes, because Konami already knows that this deck is pretty powerful. So the Marincess strategy is a deck filled of 1-card combos. 1 card pretty much gets you a searchable Infinite Impermanence, and oh look, you play more copies of Infinite Impermanence to boot. Losing your Marincess Blue Tang really doesn't affect you as much, as again, any of your other Marincess cards are full combo, which essentially can get you a Basilisk for a free draw every turn, or it could set you up with a Coral Triangle into your Marincess Wave, or it can get you an Argonaut, which is a negation on your turn. But overall, it's still a really, really, really good deck. This particular deck can also exceed summon into monsters like Stealth Kraken, which is also extremely good, turning all of your opponent's monsters to water. If you want it to be that guy, I'm not sure if it is an event. I hope it isn't. Good, because Goes in Match would be really ridiculous if your opponent's not playing a water deck. What you would be able to do is Goes in Match your opponent, and with this card on the field, if they would attempt, they can't attempt to summon any monsters not water. So if they're not playing a water deck, they'd be completely screwed. But fortunately enough for the event, Konami was smart and banned Goes in Match, so that would be pretty cool. But overall, your hand traps a Ghost Mourner and Ash Blossom Maxi, Infinite Impermanence, and Marine Cess Wave should be able to carry you and stop all of your opponent's cards while you are being able to mow them with full powered Marine Cess Wheel pretty much. Moving on to the next deck, this was the win deck. And this was, I'm not gonna lie, this one was actually the hardest to build because I'm not well versed into Lyrilusk, but Lyrilusk Melfi was actually something suggested by my friend Winkun, and this deck actually has some saucy plays. So we have our Lyrilusk cards, which essentially together, there's some insane combos. I know you guys don't see Divine Arsenal AA Zeus, but fortunately enough, Lyrilusk SM Blue Robin is a card that allows you to be able to bounce your opponent's monsters that would special summon to the side of the field and is not a hard once per turn. And you can make this with as many level 1s as possible. Imagine making this card with 3, 4, 5 material on it. It gets 500 attack for each material attached. So it could be 2,500 attack and can bounce every single one of your opponent's special summon monsters, which is actually really, really incredible. Now, we do have Old Turtle asking if Rika is unbanned. Actually, Rika probably should have been in here. Rika was really good. I think Rika would have been a very solid choice. Unfortunately, we didn't think of that one, but Rika would be a really, really good deck because it can tribute your opponent's monsters and nothing seems to be hit. But moving back on, the Melfi part of the deck is actually really fun. Normally, players would be using the Melfi engine to make Herald of Arclight, and that can transfer over back into the regular events when you guys decide to play into the regular events, if you do. But overall, the Melfi engine can special summon monsters like Kalantosa on your opponent's turn to be able to destroy and disrupt their plays, and then also allow you to provide bodies for some pretty good summons in here, like Tri-Brigade Fairjet to be able to summon an additional monster, eventually linking into Samorg Sovereignty, which allows you to be able to special summon your Mist Valley Apex Avian. Now, another thing that this deck also has is Harpy's Featherstorm, which is easily one of the most busted Yu-Gi-Oh cards in the entire game. Turning off your opponent's entire monster effects for the duration of the turn is really, really strong. Now, the last deck that we picked, guys, was actually Prank Kids. And Prank Kids is really, really good, guys. Unfortunately, Prank Kids Meow Meow Mew is limited to 1, but there's ways to circumvent that. When you do pop off with your 1-card Prank Kids Meow Meow Mew combo, from there, you probably want to rely on your polymerizations to be able to fuse into Battle Butler. But Battle Butler is a walking one-sided Raigeki on your opponent's turn to be able to stop them before they make their plays. And the Prank Kids cards themselves are relatively cheap for the most part. You don't need your Rip-Roaring Roaster, though it is a good answer to your opponent's back row. And overall, this deck is just a really, really solid deck. You can play a ton of hand traps to be able to stall out your opponent. Easily make a Prank Kids Battle Butler, which is 3,000 attack and is a walking Raigeki. If you want to, you could use your Meow Meow Mew's effect in graveyard to banish itself, or you can shuffle it back into your deck to be able to continuously use it. The choice is yours. But overall, those are the 5 decks that I would say some of the most powerful decks for the attribute, the 4 attribute event that's going on. Let me know what you think down below in the comment section, and also, of course, subscribe to this video if you want to see more content, and I'll catch you on the next one.